Hi guys, it's Will from the Game Lounge here, and after a couple of months since my ODIN 2 review video, I wanted to make a video to let you know just how things were going. Now, I'm going to say it up front, I'm still absolutely loving this device. It's become my complete go-to system, but I also wanted to share a little more of my personal experience, what I'm playing, what I'm not playing, and also what's changed in the time since my review. So let's start by talking about Nintendo Switch, because this actually became my replacement Nintendo Switch with the Hall sensor analog sticks and great design and feel and better resolution screen. I preferred playing Switch games on this device, even though I'd picked them up on my native Switch. Not only that, but initially things changed very fast with the Switch. The updates to the turnip drivers and the software updates were coming thick and fast. In fact, just a few weeks after my review, all of the games that I mentioned that didn't run now ran beautifully. So this meant that games like Kirby and the Forgotten Land now run beautifully, having previously crashed. Games like Crash 4 that was very prone to crashing, excuse the pun, also now work, and TMNT Shredder's Revenge is fully 100% playable on the device. Not only that, but you had additional implementations like NCE, native code execution, which saw huge speed improvements, meaning that many games can now be run in docked mode, meaning you get a full 1080p portable experience. But this is where the whole dynamic of this video, and I actually slightly delayed it because of this. Now, obviously, people have been shocked by recent legal maneuvers by Nintendo, and realistically, now everything is on hold. We are waiting for Ryujinx to potentially release their Android version, which has been announced, but I think understandably, they are currently very quiet on the issue. What it means is it's gone from being a super positive about the future situation with the Switch to being quite simply in a state of flux, and that is a huge shame because I still continue to play a load of Switch on this device. It's absolutely perfect, really comfortable, and in fact you can see from the Mario Wonder footage, I actually restarted the game completely. All the big hitters like Mario and Zelda work extremely well, but already we have seen issues with future game releases. Let's take the Tomb Raider remasters. I picked them up day one on the Nintendo Switch for £25, and sadly, as you can see here, it's not quite working perfectly, with the remastered mode being far too dark, and that's not going to be fixed. And I think this is sad because whilst this is still a fantastic device, it now means that effectively 3 of the key systems, the 3DS, the PS2 and the Nintendo Switch, are currently in a state of limbo in terms of Android emulation. Now, you'll still have an incredible experience, but it's slightly disappointing that these 3 different systems are in this state. I think we will get back to a stage where things are developed, but for now, this is where things are. And despite the ripples that this sent through the community, there have still been many other major developments. A big one, of course, being Emulation Station for Android, a front end that most of you should be familiar with if you've ever used a Raspberry Pi or a front end like, say, Batacera. And I have to say, as you can see here, it looks really professional. I am completely in love with this. I was using Daijisho, which I thought was great, but if you look at just how slick this is and the configurable options and the lack of updates from Daijisho, Emulation Station has become my premier front end for this device and has actually re-enabled my retro gaming play because it was just feeling really clunky with Daijisho. So I absolutely love this and recommend, if people haven't tried this out, it does cost £5 or so, but I highly recommend that people try this one. There's also been a couple of great tools released, and these are Obtainium and ODIN tools, and this basically allows you to update from GitHub or allows additional functionality on the device that maybe wasn't there initially in the firmware. We've also seen a number of firmware updates, and it's great to see that this is active from the guys at ODIN. I've seen 3 so far. I don't think they've changed the world, and I still think that there's more to do, but it's great to see that they haven't just released this device and left it. So what have I actually been playing on this? And for me, this is where things get really interesting, because the amount of times I've purchased one of these devices, spent many hours setting it up, configuring games, box arts, making it work exactly the way I want, testing most systems, and then setting the system down, ready to be used again. I am very happy to say that with this has 100% not been the case. But what is interesting is the games that I've been playing. Now, I have been playing a whole load of Wii games. Obviously, this is a portable HD Wii, and with the right mapped controls, full 1080p upscaled HD visuals, it really looks fantastic. I've been able to play Donkey Kong an absolute ton, and actually I've been playing Mario Galaxy 2. I played the Switch remaster a couple of years back, and actually to be able to play Mario Galaxy 2 is great. You can see here from the touch controls or the pointer controls, it's not perfect, but it's certainly serviceable, and most of the game you can just use the standard controls anyway. So this really has been great for Nintendo Wii, and the games that maybe I bought and just didn't get round to because I didn't like the controls, I've really enjoyed playing. To me, the way that these games should now be played. The other thing I've played a huge amount is actually just Gen 6 in general. This is the first portable system for me to really do PlayStation 2 and GameCube very, very well. It's shiny, it's new, and it really has opened up a situation where I want to play many of these games again. Gen 6 really for me has been a focal point because it does these games justice, and there's so many games that actually I picked up after their original retail run, like Simpsons Hit and Run or Half-Life on the PlayStation 2, that I just didn't play and never really got time to go back to these. You know, time is a scarce thing for so many people, and any gaming time that I typically get at home, I like to play current games. But the fact that I can take these games on the go, they're upscaled, they look great, it's given me time to actually go to some of the back catalogue that I never really played. So this wasn't possible. You know, the Retro Pocket 3 did do some of this, but certainly not to the extent that you can, and not with all of the bells and whistles that the ODIN 2 does. And I'm not saying that PS2 and GameCube emulation hasn't happened. There's plenty of devices that have had partial support, but you've always been looking at using Dolphin MMJR or a low-end Ether SX2 setup, and the games have always, I think, been inferior versions versus the originals, whereas it really feels now like I'm playing a remaster of these games. I'm wanting to go deep into these games, and when I'm playing them, I'm genuinely really enjoying them like a new experience again. One thing I still love is the case. It's as compact as it can be, and considering the size of the device, the handle is perfect. I'm finding that I'm taking this on train journeys, and if I'm changing lines or if I'm sitting in a lounge waiting for a plane, I can just put it back in, it's safe, take a quick stroll, and very quickly be right back in the action. In fact, I've loved it so much, I've actually picked up a similar Switch case. But what haven't I liked? And I've got to say, I haven't liked the color. You can see here that obviously the ambilight that you can create, there's so much light bleed on it. And I actually just, I've gone off of the transparent look. With the white now looking so much more appealing to me, I'm tempted to pick up a new one. It's minor, but it's just something that hasn't really done it for me. Another system that I have shied away from is the Dreamcast, and I think it is the alpha blending issue. The fact that the ODIN still seems to only support per triangle rather than the per pixel version means that some games will give you errors. If you take a look at the ODIN 2 here from my Retro Pocket 4 video review, you can see that Rio completely disappears and it has minor graphical issues if you set it to per triangle. It's minor and most games are fine, but it has just turned me off of the Dreamcast experience on the ODIN 2. I'm really hopeful that this can be fixed. Something that I haven't actually played a lot is the more traditional retro games. I spent a long time setting these up, getting the right bezels, getting the right shaders, and I think this will change over time, and again it is very much due to personal experience. Now, the first breakthrough retro handheld that I had last year was the Retro Pocket 3, and I played a ton of Mega Drive games in here, SNES games, PlayStation, and I also picked up a Mio Mini, which is a way more portable, quick, on-the-go setup for these systems. So I have just found that I haven't wanted to play these. I have been looking at the newer systems that weren't supported by these previous systems. So if you have a system now, perhaps you'll find the same thing, where actually you've played a lot of the classic retro games and you've had the novelty of that experience, and actually the new novelty of the GameCube PS2 experience will come through. I have, however, played a little bit more Sega Saturn, and I think that's because you can use the Beetle core, which I think is a lot better for me than Yaba Sanshiro. I think the experience is far more true in terms of visually, what it looks like. I seem to find you get a bit less lag, and again, looking at that experience I had with the Retro Pocket 3, it wasn't perfect. It often wouldn't reach the 60 frames per second, whereas this really does nail it. So I have been playing a bit of Saturn, and this really has been a big upgrade on this system. So if you haven't guessed it, I absolutely 100% recommend that you pick up this system. If you're on the fence, I think that it's almost future-proofed. I think we're going to have many more systems and developments. I think it's been a shame what's happened with Nintendo, and I think that we have definitely seen a lot of the community remaining quiet or potentially, shelving projects. But I think if we look at things historically, we've always seen that things come back, and I think we will see that in the future with this system. Like I say, if you're on the fence, I think get one of these, because there's just so much to play now, and I think that there will be so much more in the future. What we've seen in just the 3 months and the amount that I've played this system warrants the purchase entirely, and that's the great thing. I think that this system has so much power that I don't think actually there's going to be much better. And I think if you look at other retro channels, there's a load of great people out there. I won't name names, but you've seen that post the release of the ODIN 2, actually things have gone very quiet, because quite simply, nothing has really beaten it. Now, there are things that could be done. Of course, you could add an OLED screen and maybe add another inch to the size, but really there's very little that I would change about this device, and I think that's testimony to just how great it is. I'd love to hear if people have picked one up, what their experiences have been. If you're on the fence, does this change things for you? Let me know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.